What happens when envy finally catches up to a player who lets it run the show? For months, A'ja Wilson positioned herself as the loudest skeptic of Caitlin Clark's rise, taking shots at Clark's historic rookie and sophomore seasons, questioning her accolades, and openly bristling at the attention Clark received. She argued she deserved the Nike shoe. She minimized Clark's milestones. She inserted herself into every moment that belonged to someone else. Now, the roles have flipped. Caitlin Clark is packing her bags for Team USA camp, set to train alongside the next generation of stars like Aaliyah Boston and Paige Buchers, while Wilson is stuck on the outside looking in. The player who thought she could tear down the face of women's basketball just learned a brutal lesson. When you attack the engine driving the sport forward, there are consequences. And in this case, the consequence was being left off Team USA. Before we dive deeper, sound off in the comments. Did Team USA make the right call moving on from A'ja Wilson? USA Basketball didn't just invite Caitlin Clark to Duke. They handed her the blueprint to the future. That call wasn't about filling a camp spot or kicking the tires on potential. It was a declaration, a signal, a passing of the torch. When Team USA calls your name, you're no longer just being evaluated, you're being chosen. Look at the roster and it reads like a vision board for the next era of dominance. Paige Buchers brings championship DNA and two-way brilliance. Aaliyah Boston arrives fresh off a statement WNBA season, already proving she can thrive next to Clark's playmaking. Angel Reese brings relentless rebounding and edge. Juju Watkins represents the future, knocking loudly at the door. This isn't random, it's intentional. And here's the key detail most people are missing. Every single one of these players fits Caitlin Clark's game like a glove. Sue Bird's presence tells you exactly where this program is headed. She wasn't brought back to preserve tradition or honor the past. She's there to guide a transformation. Bird understands modern basketball at an elite level: pace, spacing, movement, and decision-making. She knows Clark's style isn't a gimmick or a phase. It's where international basketball is going. USA basketball has quietly re-engineered its identity. The slow, bruising half-court grind is being phased out. In its place, tempo, space, shooting, and creativity. They want to run. They want to stretch defenses. They want a conductor who can read the floor 3 steps ahead and punish every mistake. That conductor is Caitlin Clark. Every drill at Duke reflects that vision. Transition reads, rapid ball movement, creating advantages before defenses can even set. Clark has spent the last 2 years living in that exact environment, sharpening those skills under constant pressure. Behind closed doors, coaches aren't debating whether she belongs. They're already sketching out 2026 World Cup rotations with Clark steering the offense. The conversation has shifted. It's no longer, will she make the team? It's, how much do you build around her? This timeline gives Clark something most Team USA newcomers never get: real runway. 2 full years before the 2028 Olympics means chemistry, trust, and muscle memory. She won't be learning on the fly. By the time the lights are brightest, this will be her system. Insiders expect Clark to skip the usual pecking order entirely. Traditionally, rookies earn their stripes from the bench. Clark is the exception. Her skill set, leadership, and cultural impact make her impossible to stash away. Meaningful minutes are coming immediately, and depending on how quickly she adapts internationally, a starting role isn't out of the question. This camp isn't about survival of the fittest, it's about fit. And Clark thrives where IQ, vision, and decision-making matter most. She's already proven she elevates everyone around her, keeps her poise under fire, and makes the right play when it counts. That translates seamlessly to the international game. Team USA is in the middle of a generational pivot. The old formula leaned on physicality and rebounding. The new one will win with speed, spacing, and offensive imagination. Clark doesn't just align with that philosophy, she defines it. And while Clark prepares to carry the flag, A'ja Wilson is watching the sport move on without her. The same player who spent months trying to undermine Clark's achievements is now confronting the cost of her own behavior. Team USA chose progress. Wilson earned a seat in the audience. Jealousy has a funny way of wrecking careers. It convinces people to make self-destructive moves and call it confidence. Wilson spent months launching thinly veiled attacks at Caitlin Clark, convinced she could knock down the superstar, capturing the country's attention. Her "I have a shoe too" messaging didn't project strength. It exposed insecurity. While Clark was selling out arenas and breaking attendance records, Wilson was on social media reminding everyone she existed. The contrast was painful. Clark wasn't chasing validation. Wilson was begging for it. Every Clark milestone became a trigger. Assist records were dismissed. Rookie of the Year honors were questioned. Historic jersey sales were reframed as marketing favoritism. Clark couldn't achieve anything without Wilson stepping in to redirect the spotlight. Wilson even claimed she commanded the same speaking fees as Clark. Anyone paying attention to the business side knew that wasn't true. Corporations weren't whispering about Clark. They were racing to book her. Her calendar was packed, her demand undeniable. Wilson's reality didn't match the narrative she was trying to sell. No companies were announcing marquee Wilson bookings. Meanwhile, Clark appearances were headline news. The "what's delayed is not denied" posts didn't inspire patience. They screamed desperation. Every cryptic message just happened to land right on top of a Clark headline. Fans noticed. The pattern was obvious. Insiders grew uneasy watching Wilson repeatedly go after the very player fueling the league's momentum. Clark was bringing in new fans, boosting ratings, and driving merchandise sales through the roof. Wilson was criticizing the catalyst behind it all. With every outburst, the gap widened. Clark landed magazine covers and massive endorsement deals. Wilson fired off complaints about media coverage. Clark became a household name. Wilson became a cautionary tale. Things crossed a line when Wilson implied Clark's Time Athlete of the Year recognition was about race rather than merit. That wasn't competition, that was bitterness. It revealed how far she was willing to go to dull Clark's shine. Instead of celebrating the growth of women's basketball, Wilson fought it. New sponsors? She complained. Packed arenas? She questioned authenticity. She wasn't just frustrated, she was actively undermining the sport's momentum. That strategy backfired in spectacular fashion. Fans turned. Sponsors hesitated. Decision-makers took notes. Wilson's image shifted from respected veteran to perpetual antagonist. And that reputation mattered. Then came the deal that made everything undeniable. Nike's 8-year, $28 million commitment to Caitlin Clark didn't just make headlines, it reset the hierarchy. Wilson didn't congratulate her. She complained about her own rollout. Passive-aggressive posts followed. The message was clear. Clark's success felt personal. Clark's Kobe-branded sneaker sold out almost instantly. Resale prices doubled. Social media exploded. Wilson's releases barely made a ripple. One player captured the global imagination. The other struggled for relevance. Brands noticed. Nike reshaped its entire women's basketball strategy around Clark. Media companies chased her games. Retailers cleared space for her merchandise. Business schools studied her impact. Financial publications broke down her economic effect on the league. Clark wasn't just a basketball star anymore. She was an engine. Wilson watched as budgets shifted, opportunities disappeared, and attention followed Clark. The market spoke clearly about who represented the future. USA Basketball listened. Wilson thought she could tear Caitlin Clark down and claim her spot. Instead, jealousy burned the bridge beneath her feet. Her campaigns fizzled, her comparisons backfired, her reputation took the hit. Now Clark heads to Team USA camp with Boston and Buchers, while Wilson stays home, watching the next era take shape without her. The road to the 2026 World Cup and the 2028 Olympics runs through Clark's generation. Wilson won't be part of that chapter. Here's the part no one wants to say out loud, but everyone inside the league understands. Team USA didn't just evaluate box scores, efficiency ratings, or past accolades. They evaluated alignment, culture, direction. They asked a simple question: who helps us grow and who slows us down? And that's where Wilson lost the room. International basketball is ruthless about cohesion. Egos don't travel well. Coaches don't have the patience to manage personal vendettas when gold medals are on the line. The moment a player becomes more focused on who's getting attention than on how to win together, alarms go off. Wilson's pattern wasn't subtle. It was documented, public, and persistent. USA Basketball saw a veteran expending energy trying to shrink the biggest draw the sport has seen in decades. That's not leadership. That's liability. Meanwhile, Clark has done the exact opposite at every turn. She deflects praise, she amplifies teammates, she celebrates assists as loudly as buckets. When the spotlight hits, she absorbs it without letting it scorch the people around her. That's not accidental, that's awareness. And in a Team USA setting, that matters as much as talent. Behind the scenes, staffers noticed how younger players gravitated toward Clark immediately. Not because she demanded attention, but because she made the game easier for everyone in the gym. Crisp passes, early reads, clear communication, no sulking when shots didn't fall, no theatrics when calls went against her, just adjustment after adjustment. Wilson, by contrast, had become predictable. Every big Clark moment was followed by a Wilson reaction. Every league milestone sparked commentary. Every endorsement announcement triggered a response. It stopped looking like competition and started looking like obsession. And obsession is exhausting. Coaches don't want to manage that. Teammates don't want to tiptoe around it. Sponsors don't want to be adjacent to it. When Team USA builds a roster, they're building a pressure cooker. If someone cracks under attention instead of thriving within it, that's a risk they don't take. This isn't about punishment, it's about trajectory. Wilson represents an era that believed dominance alone guaranteed relevance. Clark represents a new one, where skill, spectacle, humility, and business impact are intertwined. The modern superstar doesn't just score. She scales the sport. She attracts new eyeballs. She expands the ecosystem. She creates opportunity for everyone else, whether they acknowledge it or not. Clark has done that in less than 2 years. The numbers are impossible to ignore. Ratings spikes, attendance surges, merchandise sellouts, media deals rewritten, entire broadcast schedules restructured around her presence. That's not hype, that's leverage. And Team USA understands leverage better than most. They're not sentimental, they're strategic. By bringing Clark into camp early, they're ensuring continuity. They're allowing her to grow into the role organically instead of forcing a last-minute integration before the Olympics. They're building habits now that will pay dividends later. That's how dynasties are sustained. Wilson misread that entirely. She treated Clark like a rival she could discredit, instead of a rising tide she could ride. She framed Clark's success as theft rather than expansion. She fought the attention instead of channeling it. And in doing so, she isolated herself at the exact moment alignment mattered most. That's what this moment represents. Not a snub, not a conspiracy, not favoritism, a fork in the road. Clark stepped into the future willingly. Wilson dug her heels into resentment. And now, the gap between them isn't just about basketball, it's about relevance. While Clark is running sets with Boston, syncing timing with Buchers, and learning international spacing under Sue Bird's watchful eye, Wilson is left to recalibrate, to reflect, to decide whether she wants to compete with the future or keep fighting it. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. The sport doesn't pause for bitterness. It doesn't wait for anyone to feel acknowledged. Momentum is merciless, and once it shifts, it rarely comes back. Clark didn't take Wilson's place. She built something Wilson couldn't access. And Team USA didn't choose sides. They chose direction. The next era is already in motion. The jerseys are being printed. The playbooks are being rewritten. The audience has made its choice. And jealousy? Jealousy doesn't get a roster spot. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Did Team USA get it right? Like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and click the next video on your screen. We'll see you there.